Okay, so the lighting on this is kind of weird because I don't know how to get a good light on my face without getting the glare reflected on my glasses. So we're just gonna go with this. I know the title of this video, it's a little clickbaity. I'm not transitioning, but I wanted a general title because there's a lot I'm gonna go through in this video. So I do have a list of reasons why I'm not transitioning. Let's have context. It's funny how Courtney Coulson was in a similar LGBT community online, reading the same kinds of things that I was reading in 2015. She's a decade older than me, and she's in Australia. But going through her YouTube, it's such a similar experiences, similar knowledge of what was going on at the time. Like, she posted a YouTube short last week talking about true scum, as in to think that you should only transition if you have gender dysphoria. That was the true scum thing. The full term is transmedicalist, and it's shortened to transmed, and then it's to true scum because you're scum if you think that. You're terrible. You're a terrible person to think that you should have a good enough reason in order to transition before you even start considering transitioning. And from that came this current idea of the true trans. And the big three on YouTube for true trans is Marcus Dib, Blaire White, and Buck Angel. All of whom I've watched for years on and off. Like, I'm familiar with their content. I agree with them on a lot of things. I also disagree with them on some things. You know, just like any other person. But that's where I think the idea of true trans came from, was no, actually, gender dysphoria is the only reason you should transition. And if you don't have gender dysphoria, then you shouldn't transition. And if it's not bad enough, like it was bad enough for us, you shouldn't transition. It's very much, we are the real ones compared to all of these other ones. Oh, all of these other ones, you know? But really, what's the difference? And it's been a thought that I've had for a long time, and especially the more I look into general critical things, because I'll go through periods of like every few months I'll get back into certain topics. And so one of the ones I always get back to is gender critical, is radfem, Tumblr, is that kind of scene. Because coming from that 2015 YouTube and Tumblr and Instagram was where I started. That was like the first account I made for social media was on Instagram in middle school. So everything that happens on Tumblr eventually does end up on Instagram. And it's very nice to have this similar ideas, similar experiences in the gender critical community. Online. Again, I'm pretty much an observer, except for this video. This is like my introduction to talking about this to anyone. I'm moved towards being gender critical because of my own experiences. From the true scum thing to having all of my thoughts in general. Like, it's just a natural progression of what I'm thinking. A lot of detransitioners, including butchpeace, say that they transitioned not because they necessarily wanted to, but because that was the only option presented. And to now see how the gender critical space is online, where there's Carol, Courtney, and butchpeace, but there's also people like King Critical. It's a lot more than it used to be. I don't agree with everyone on every single point. I'm not religious. King Critical is, I'm pretty sure. Like, there's things I don't agree with, but we can all agree that transitioning, even if you have gender dysphoria, is not your only option. And the way it's presented as your only option is horrendous. Until I started searching out alternative perspectives online, I never heard anything except for the true scum thing. It's very much not the mainstream. And the mainstream being non-binary, trans mask, you know, you can transition for any reason. Pretty much back to back, I saw 2 female to male transitioners on Instagram saying that it's fine to transition if you don't necessarily have a reason. You know, I was fine living as a woman. I was fine living as a lesbian, but I decided to transition for this tiny little thought that I would live a better life as a man. And now it all turned out okay, and I feel just fine, and I feel fine living the world as a man. Okay, I think that's a lot of lesbians' perspectives. I think that's a lot of our experiences, where I'm fine being a woman. I would have absolutely no problem if I was born a man. I would have no problem at all. I think I would still be gay, but I think I would be more accepted for my masculinity, for my inclination towards male gender norms. Just how much I go towards looking to men that I do looking towards women because of the gender norms, because that's where I feel more comfortable, because those match my interests more. Never ever understood why 6th graders are getting into makeup. I've never been interested in makeup. I've tried a bit. I remember, you know, when Jeffree Star was at his peak, and like the makeup palettes for YouTubers were everywhere and that kind of thing. And I never cared at all. Like, I watched the videos to see what was going on because that was the mainstream kind of at that point for girls. But I never cared. Never cared about dressing up. It was a thing a lot for a long time where my mother would take me shopping at JCPenney or wherever, and she would go, "Oh, isn't this cute?" And I would say, "Yeah." And then she would say, "Okay, try it on." No, I'm not going to try it on. Because I can look at a shirt, at a blouse, at a dress, and say, "Oh, that's really pretty. It would look so pretty if a woman wore it." I'm not wearing that though. I'm not wearing that. And so it took until probably 8th grade for her to finally understand, okay, stop asking that. Those are 2 separate questions. Because in her head it was one question of, "Oh, it's pretty, okay, you wear it. Oh, it's pretty, that means you want to wear it." No, no. I can look at something and say, "Oh, that's very nice," and be still, okay, I'm never putting that on. I would hate wearing that. V-necks probably look good on me. I don't know. I hate that look. I hate V-neck shirts. And that's primarily what my mother wears. I hate that look on me. So it's that kind of thing where I've just always not been ladylike or a girl like I'm supposed to. In high school, I tried. I did. And that goes with my hair, which is actually a point on this presentation for why I'm not transitioning. A big point is I want to do everything in my power that I can before medicalizing my body. I saw last week an Instagram reel, or it was a TikTok reposted onto Instagram, of a male to female transitioner saying that you can be unsure and still choose transition. You can have a trial period for testosterone and estrogen. You can just try it. Just try it for a month. Just, go ahead and see if you like it. Dude, I was on, I think it was Lexapro or another anxiety medication, because I tried medications last year, and it's like, yeah, this isn't enough. I'm not doing this. I've had enough pills in my life. I don't need any more. I stopped it, but I had to stop it anyway, because 3 weeks of taking it at like a small starting dosage screwed me up. I had the side effects. I had the dissociation, the foggy head. I couldn't drink. I couldn't handle alcohol. Like, I completely stopped being able to handle any alcohol because I was on that medication. So yeah, going on hormones for a month, if you think that's not gonna do anything, you're wrong. Sure, you can stop it and your body will revert back to its normal hormone levels. But my God, if you think that even messing with your body for a temporary period like that is just, oh, it's a trial period, you can just try it. No, dude. Where are you getting that in your head? Why do you think that's actually possible? So it's those kinds of things. Those kinds of videos, those kinds of thoughts. I hate it. Of just, try transitioning. Anyone can try transitioning. You know, I didn't have a whole lot of gender dysphoria myself, but I thought maybe I would like being a man. And so I transitioned and now I am walking the world as one. Dude, is there any more thought to it? Is that it? Just a basic, oh, I'm a lesbian, I would probably be better as a man? Is there anything else? Like, it's hard to see. Because I oppose those perspectives, because I oppose the mainstream perspective of gender ideology, as it's called, I'm doing as much as I can without. I shave my head like I've always wanted to. Hair has been a big thing, and I very much do not want to unnecessarily change my body when I don't have to. I don't want the negative effects. Speaking of the negative effects, I also saw last week, and this concept really, really annoys me, of particularly females, particularly young women and teenage girls who get on testosterone and do 6 months on, 6 months off. And they get top surgery and they continue doing testosterone 6 months on, 6 months off. This particular woman I saw is still considering herself, you know, she, her pronouns, she's a lesbian, but she wants a gender neutral body. She had top surgery, she's on and off testosterone, and her doctor also approved a birth control. Now, I didn't go through her account, I don't go through these people's accounts just to get all of the information. So from the one 6-minute video she posted explaining the basics of what she's doing, she said she's on birth control. She did not specify if it was hormonal or not, and as far as I know, the majority of birth control is hormonal. So along with top surgery and going on and off of testosterone, which means your body is never really at an even hormone level for a young woman, she's also on a probably hormonal birth control that her doctor approved. And a part of the video was, I have all of these research, I have all these studies that say, oh, you can, for non-binary, this and that, you can go towards a gender neutral body, you can be on this portion, this amount of testosterone for this certain amount of time in order to get these certain effects while still not getting a full beard and all of these other things. And it's, do you not understand what you're doing to yourself? Because it seems like she does, but it's also like, I want a gender neutral body. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't understand what you mean by that, besides, it doesn't even make sense from a transitioning true scum perspective, because it's not from that perspective. It's, oh, non-binary and trans-masc, and you can have a gender neutral body as a female. You can get top surgery and then you're gender neutral. No, dude, you just cut your tits off because you don't want to live as a woman, but you don't want to live as a man either. It's not helpful. It's not mentally well. And even with Marcus Dib or those true trans YouTubers, I have more sympathy for them. I much prefer them to all of these other people, all of these other transition people, because they do have reasoning to what they're doing. They did transition because they had such bad dysphoria. They did transition knowing that they could never be the opposite sex, but they can walk the world as the opposite sex. And that, for them, as they say, significantly helps their mental health. They understand that there is a binary. And they understand that you can't just go on and off testosterone like that. From that particular lesbian on Instagram, she said that I'm gonna go back on testosterone because my voice is getting a little higher. I know I should be voice training, I know I should be working out, but my voice is getting a little higher, so I'm going back on so I want to go back on testosterone for another 6 months, so it can drop a little. You're playing, and that's another reason why I'm not going to transition, because I don't want to be a part of either group. I don't want to be a part of the true trans, because I don't want to be like, well, everyone else is bad, but I'm okay for medicalizing my body. I'm fine. And I don't want to be a part of the rest of the LGBT community where it's the non-binary and the trans mass and the trans femme and all of that. I don't want to be associated with either one, because as much as I agree with the true trans perspective in that, okay, if you are going to transition, this should be your only reason why, I still think, because of all the detransitioners, like Carol says, and I'm referencing Carol, I keep saying Carol, but I mean Carol, like that's her YouTube name, and she was transitioned for 4 years. She is in her 40s now. She did that in the 2010s, at pretty much around the same time that Courtney did as well. And I don't remember from any of butchpeace's posts on Tumblr what time she necessarily transitioned, but it was also like in the general 2010s time, so all of them transitioned at the same time, pretty much, as adults, and now they're all detransitioned. Carol says in quite a few of her videos that she'll say to doctors, or she'll say to people online, like, hey, it didn't work for me. You kept saying that it would work for me, transitioning would be fine for me, that it would help me, and it didn't. So even if you're transitioning for purely gender dysphoria reasons, there's a lot undercover under that term, gender dysphoria. One of them being internalized homophobia, which Carol and butchpeace talk about. I could have gotten married straight out of high school. There was 1,001 guys that hit on me in high school. Half of them genuinely liked me. There was plenty of times where I cried because of that. Not because I was gay necessarily. I very much held steady to myself. But I couldn't give them the life that I was expected to. It was a deep hurt, and I still feel it sometimes, where I know I can't live a normal life, a typical, average, heterosexual, get married, have kids life. And I think that's what people mean when they say they transition for internalized homophobia. Because it's not that, oh no, being gay's fine, culturally, most people are fine with it, it's not a big deal, but you're different, and you feel that, and it's upsetting, because it wasn't a choice. So you choose to transition. There is that feeling of being different. And I don't think anyone could ever not feel that way. I don't think that feeling will go away. No matter how accepted homosexuality is, no matter how progressive or whatever America is, you will feel that difference. And when it hurts enough, there's enough shame, you pick transitioning because, well, I can't live as a feminine ladylike type, but I can play the part as the man, and I'll be marrying a woman, but as a man, it'll be better that way. Another reason I don't want to transition is because it's not real. And if Blaire White and Marcus Dib and Buck Angel, if they feel fine, living like that, okay, you're an adult. I'm not saying transitioning should be illegal. I'm saying I don't agree with the process, with the thought behind it. But if they're fine living as the opposite sex and being transsexual, that's the term they use to mean true trans. It's going back to our roots. Transsexual is the real term. Transgender is all of these other people. So that's another way they distance themselves from the mainstream LGBT community. And I'm saying community loosely, just like anyone else does. When I mean community, I mean like the online spaces. I could not handle living that lie of walking the world as a man when I know I'm not a man. And one of the big reasons of that, and it's always been a big reason, is my height. My height, along with my hair, has been a problem for me for forever. A couple relationships in my family tree are 5-foot women marrying 6-foot men. No matter how much I try, no matter how much I can pass and walk the world as a man and no one would know, and I could be stealth and I could be totally fine, I would still know I could never be 6 foot tall. I don't know why my camera's battery just died. Portions of this video and all of last video, I used this camera. This is from like 2013. It's just something I've been having. I charged the battery completely. I don't know why it failed. And it's the only battery I have. So here I am on my phone. You can definitely tell the quality is very different. This phone is from 2021, whereas that camera is a lot older. So even when I have seriously considered transitioning, I have always held back because of my height. Because I know that I couldn't even fool myself into thinking I'm a man. Another reason is the obvious reason. It's the reason that I talk about with internalized homophobia. And all of this like gender neutral body, it doesn't work. And all you're saying to the world is that you as a female living the way you do, being masculine the way you are, that's a problem. It is you as an individual that is a problem. It's not anything else. Therefore, you as the individual must bear the weight of everything and you must transition. And I don't want to feed into the idea that I am wrong. I don't want to validate my negative feelings about myself by transitioning. Because that's all it would be doing, is I as the individual am wrong. I should transition. I should walk the world as a man. My life would be better if I was a man. Sure, it would be. Sure, some things would be different. Carol's YouTube, specifically her video from December 10th, 2023, titled "Transition is Nothing New for Lesbians." There's, across the board for like a ton of her videos, there's a bunch of comments that say the same thing that her videos say, of like, this has been a thing for a long time, there's this, that, and the other issue among lesbians. The thing of reading all those comment sections, it's really nice, because I don't get that information anywhere else. It's not the mainstream to talk about how transition has been a problem
since the 80s for butch women. It's not the mainstream to say, actually, Stone Butch Blues is a problem. Carol made a video as well about why she doesn't like Stone Butch Blues. And I very much agree with that video. And it's what I've been thinking for a while. And it's like really nice to hear someone else actually say, hey, let's stop propping up this book. Context is, I have never read it. It's too much. It's too much. So I keep reading descriptions about what the book is. I keep watching videos about what the book is. I'm never going to read it myself. It's very, very heavy subjects. And the problem with how that book is propped up, and like, oh, if you want to hear anything about butches, the first thing you should read is Stone Butch Blues. You know, it's by this trans mass woman, and yada yada, and Leslie Feinberg is this amazing thing in people's eyes. No, stop. Because all that book does is say the police brutality, the assaults, the rapes, the being stoned, being butch, all of that means you should transition. Actually, your life would be better if you transitioned and tried to walk the world as a man. It validates the negative feelings that butches have about themselves. It says, here's your solution. And the solution is not to care about yourself. It's not to be trauma informed or, whatever the therapy speak is. It's not to say, actually, I am just how I am. No, it's to give in. It's to continue having these conflicting feelings about yourself and continue thinking that your life would be better if you were a man. Instead of going, it was wrong for me to be treated that way. And I stand by it being wrong. Because if you transition, because with all of that trauma, that's basically what you're saying, is actually they were right. And it's similar to the joking videos, the lighthearted videos of like, my bullies called me gay and I was actually gay. They knew before I did. I hate that. No, dude, that's just homophobia. That's just people calling you gay because you're weird to them. That's not, oh, they knew before me. Like, it's a joke, yeah. But you're not actually you're not saying anything about the levels to it. You're not saying they were wrong. You're saying they were right. And that you as the individual, it goes back to you as the individual is the problem. Not the people around you. Not the general consensus. No, you are the problem. And you must change. Can you tell I have a lot of thoughts? Can you tell? I've been thinking about this for a decade. I've been in this space on and off for a decade. My Instagram is not filled with gender critical stuff. I specifically have to go searching for it on Tumblr and YouTube because I know that's where the majority of it is. You do not see it organically. You have to search for it. And that's why so many people get picked up in this, because it is the mainstream to say you should transition. It is the first step. You have a problem with anything? You have a problem with being a lesbian? Oh, you don't like gender norms? Oh, you're trans. You're actually trans. Oh, you don't like your long hair and wearing makeup? Oh, you're trans. And I know there's terms like soft mask, but they're so overshadowed by transitioning. It's soft. Like soft mask. Like, it's very much not a category for most people. It's not a solid thing. It's just appearance based, and rather than like non-binary and trans mask is about your feelings, and it's whatever. Another problem with categories is that these butch trans men, I know it's more of a detransitioner thing to call yourself butch. And that's what the word has become. And that's why I don't feel, even if I completely fit in with you know, the protective, charismatic, you know, Karen, masculine expression, expectations, you know, description of what butch is historically, I still wouldn't feel comfortable using it because it has become a word that detransitioners use. And butchpeace uses it, you know, it's used in the gender critical, in the radfem space. And so I can find, that's the word I look for, is butch, because I know I'm going to get probably detransitioners, probably a lot of personal experiences. There are going to be a lot of experiences comparable to mine, comparable to what I think in the gender critical space. You look at butch as a term anywhere else, no. It's Stone Butch Blues, it's these two. I know they're different. I know they live different lives, but there's two people specifically on TikTok, and I only see them reposted on Instagram. They have Instagram pages. One of them has a YouTube, and it's butch. One calls herself a butch lesbian. She's a detransitioner. Still looks completely male. Still passes. Okay, and another one, pretty much the same look and everything, but calls herself a butch trans man. She walks the world as a man. She goes by he, him pronouns. Like the whole 9 yards, the whole thing, dude, for transitioning. And she still calls herself a lesbian. And she has an extensive history of growing up religious, of marrying a man, of everything. And she's in her 40s or 50s now. That's the problem. Transitioning is seen as the first thing to do, especially as a butch lesbian. So that goes into internalized homophobia. That goes into what the mainstream gender ideology is. It's the first thing, and that's a big problem with transitioning. Is it is still the only option, even with such a larger gender critical and radfem space online, on Tumblr and YouTube. Transitioning is still the first thing. And again, you're not going to see an alternative perspective unless you specifically look for it, and unless you know the terms to look for, like gender critical or radfem, or like you're never going to see anything other than you should transition. You're just not. Courtney Coulson, I'm since started watching her, because I saw her earlier this week or over the weekend or something, because again, her YouTube short just popped up, and then I watched one of her videos, and the comments brought up how her letter to one of her doctors, she made a video that was like a spoken letter, and it was shown in a Buck Angel video. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Now that you mention it, I remember that. I watched that video. And I guess the thing is, I never go to those individuals' accounts and actually look at whether or not they're gender critical, because half the time they're not. There's this one young woman, younger than me, who transitioned, detransitioned. I think she's still in college. Like, she's younger than me, and all of this has already happened. Got a double mastectomy, you know, top surgery, went on testosterone, like, did the whole thing. She posts on Instagram, like, I don't hate trans people, it just didn't work out for me. And now she's completely feminine, just looking like any other woman. But she had top surgery. But she was on testosterone. And she's like, I don't hate trans people, it just didn't work for me. You know, it turns out I wasn't trans. What's the difference between you and anyone else? What is the difference to you between you as a detransitioner and any other person who still calls themselves trans? I'm not even talking about butch lesbians anymore. I'm talking about the general, like, trans community. Oh my god, what this goes with is an Instagram reel I saw like 2 days ago. Full beard, full hair, very buff, like definitely a big buff man, day 1 of HRT. And the next clip is like 3.5 years. Day 1000 of HRT. And it's like, you didn't even try. That's a big problem I have as well, is this transition is pushed for any problem you have about your body, about your gender, about your presentation, anything. And half of them don't even try. It's, oh, I feel like a woman. You're not even feminizing yourself in any way. You're not trying. You're not trying to help yourself. You're just, okay, I need to get on hormones. Okay, I need to get these surgeries. From a female to male, it's very much like body issues and gender norms and yada yada. And I can understand the perspective. I also am so much harsher when I see trans women stuff online because I genuinely do not understand that perspective. What do you mean you want to be feminine? What do you mean you want to wear makeup 24/7, have long hair, always, like, wear dresses and heels? Like, I saw a video earlier today on Instagram, and it's this trans woman, like, her first apartment, and it's like a very like normal post of like, I got my apartment, woo! And then he's in his empty apartment dancing around with like a pencil skirt and heels, like 2-inch heels. Like, why are you doing like the very like woman expected professional set-in outfit? Like, are you going to court? What are you wearing? It's very much based on gender norms, but half the time, a lot of the people who transition don't do anything beforehand. And going back to that gender-neutral body thing that lesbian I brought up earlier was talking about, in her video, she outright said she needs to voice train to get a deeper voice. She knows she can do it in a different way, but she chooses testosterone because it's easier. She gained weight because of testosterone, and so she knows she wants to work out. She doesn't work out. She is obese. And got top surgery while obese. That's another thing that Buck Angel talks about. And I appreciate her talking about like the actual effects of like how you should really, really take care of yourself if you were going to transition. There's a lot of things I don't agree with. There's a lot of things I don't like. So I am trying to live in the opposite direction, trying to be fine with myself. And I am fine with myself. I'm at this point, I genuinely am fine walking the world as a woman. The problem is the gender norms. The problem is the internalized homophobia that I was talking about, where I cannot live a normal life, a normal heterosexual life that most people can. It is an isolating feeling. It is different. And it will always be different. That's just the nature of it, because it is different. It is a feeling, and that complicates things, because if you say that, going back to the true trans stuff, if you say that you are transitioning strictly for your gender dysphoria, what makes up that gender dysphoria? It's a fine line between what I was talking about with blaming yourself as an individual when really it's the world that wants you to transition in order to fit in and conform, versus how much is it for actually trying to feel okay with yourself. So it's a fine line, and I have sympathy, but I don't agree. I just don't. I know I'm naming a lot of people, and I read the newspaper a lot in high school. I come from a very like mentality of like the only time you should name people is when you let them know and this and that, and like, you know, if you're gonna bring up a dead person, you gotta be very sure of like, does the family know? Is everything okay? Is your actions is you bringing up going to affect anything in real life? So me even naming like half a dozen people is a big thing, but it's important for what I'm getting across, because I've been around for a decade. I've been in this space. I've seen both sides. I've experienced both sides myself. There's no way to discuss the modern transgender push without bringing up other people's experiences. Because I only have so many experiences myself, and I never actually transitioned. So I'm looking to everyone else online on both sides of the aisle to see what's going on and to see the different perspectives. And I find so much importance in the gender critical side having so many detransitioners and being so much larger than it was 5 years ago, because there is that sense of understanding that I now get that I never got before. You know, I can agree politically with a lot of things, I can disagree with a lot of things, but I'm mainly around and know the things that I know and able to talk this much and have this long of a video because I'm here for personal reasons. I'm here to not harm myself. I'm here to try to be okay with myself. And that's not what I'm getting from the side that says you should transition.